First there was food swearing, and now it's dog swearing.
Those were up, and they did.
We're smart, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this review is going to be for a release that came out this weekend, and it's a comedy movie. It's directed by Josh Greenbaum, and it's produced by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And it's easily their fourth, but I realized fourth, because I realized there was another one they did this year I did not like. R-rated feature. And that film is going to be for none other than this weekend's STRAYS, which is another talking animal movie. But what's the plot of this movie? Well, when a gullible border terrier named Reggie, voiced by Will Ferrell, is abandoned on the streets by a selfish and ruthless owner Doug, played by Will Forte, an animal-hating drug addict who never wanted him, he teams up with other strays, including the streetwise Boston Terrier named Bug, voiced by Jamie Foxx, an Australian Shepherd named Maggie, voiced by Isla Fisher, and a therapy Great Dane named Hunter, voiced by Randall Park, to get revenge on Doug. Well, so how was this made? Well, it was in August 2019 when Phil Lord and Christopher Miller signed a first-look deal with Universal Pictures. In May 2021, Universal acquired the rights to STRAYS, an allegory about dogs written by Dan Perrault, with Lord Miller attached to produce alongside Eric Feige and Louis Leterrier. The film is a co-production between Picture Start and Rabbit Hole Productions. The film began in September 2021 in Atlanta, Georgia, and then concluded by December 2021. So, yeah. And so then the trailers came out, and, yeah, we'll get more to the trailers in a bit. And the trailers came out in February of this year, and after the film was shot, advertised, and marketed, STRAYS had been released in the United States on this weekend, August 18th, 2023, by Universal Pictures. And how has it been with reactions? Well, it ended up receiving some mixed reviews. Now, as for my reaction, when I saw the trailers for this film, I had some excitement for this because, while, yeah, I hate talking animal films today and raunchy comedies today, I did like the idea of a rated R one for a change, and it was being produced by Lord and Miller, so I had a bit of hope, but then I also remembered we had another similar children's film concept in 2016 that was completely animated, also decided to be a rated R movie. Look how that turned out. And then, of course, in 2018, we had an R-rated Muppet film called The Happy Time Murders. You want to know what happened to that movie, guys? The Happy Time Murders stunk. It bombed. Nobody liked it. And I didn't either. Even I thought it was shit. What's worse is that Happy Time Murders, the trailers for the Happy Time Murders actually made the movie look funny. It was the complete opposite. It was actually a shitty movie. But this one was being produced by Lord and Miller, so I had a bit of hope, and hopefully it would actually be better than the last two times they tried a concept like this. So I saw the movie last night, and what did I think of it? I thought it was averagely good. It was like one of the best movies of the year, but it was a decent time waster for what it was. It's definitely a better movie than Sausage Party, no doubt. The voice acting CGI in this is good. You'd honestly believe these dogs are actually chatting to one another, and the plot is kept simple to allow the humor to take center place. and I definitely enjoyed the movie. Yeah, because that's what you want in a comedy, a simple plot that allows the humor to still keep going. But usually, what you saw in the Red Band trailer, if you ever saw the Red Band trailer, it's the kind of comedy that you'll totally get here. The jokes are surface level with sex, drugs, and plenty of foul language, mixed with plenty of dog antics. You definitely might not laugh the hardest you've ever laughed, but it's definitely to make sure you laugh. But it just makes sure that you laugh enough plenty of times. The jokes aren't really that cringy either. They're just crude, try hard enough to keep the smiles permitting. Somewhere like a PG rated version of this could exist. Not sure if it would, but however, the thing is though, if a PG-13 version of this story, if a PG version of this story existed, I don't think it would bring enough laughs or good story with the love of dogs to bring in the masses. So clearly Lord and Miller knew their selling point was to bring on the filthiness. The biggest sell for me though was the dogs. Like, if we had the choice to hear dogs' thoughts, we'd prefer not to, but we have ways of communicating for them ourselves, and this movie does exactly that. Because they do for dog owners and dog lovers out there. It can bring certain emotions out, though. And for all the moments that do bring levity, all that, and usually a film like this would be seen as more of a serious drama that would make nobody laugh here, but here, like, they make it a raunchy slapstick comedy like this one in, literally just about 90 minutes. Like, with the plot of this movie, think of films like, for those who probably grew up watching films like The Adventures of Milo and Otis or Homeward Bound, it's pretty much those movies if it were rated R. If it were rated R and centered on things like dog neglect or abuse, you would totally get this kind of movie. I've never seen Adventures of Milo Otis, but I have seen Homeward Bound. The first one I like, the second one I don't like. And some of you obviously in 2000s remember certain dog commercials where they have gross mouths, gross CGI to open their mouths. Yeah. I always just sat there wondering how they achieved the shots that they wanted this movie. It's usually crazy to think of these dogs as a cast of actors that are trained to do certain things or command when the word action is called, or in fact do so many R-rated things. And there's times when I'm sure they use visual effects trickery outside of mouth movements. For the most part, it seems like you're seeing real dogs do real action. And speaking of which, I almost feel there would be a unique innocence if they didn't bother to move their mouths. So they speak more in thought than anything else. Like, I think it would have worked fine to anthropomorphize them a little less. And now that I do think of it, guys, there's actually one cameo dog that has a narration. So if you've seen those Dog's Purpose films, yeah, those narrator dog films that have came out recently where Josh Gad is usually being the narrator who thinks the dog's thoughts. There's a scene of that in there at a carnival that kind of makes fun of this a lot. And Jamie Foxx and Will Ferrell's dog characters actually come across this narrator dog. It's like, oh fuck, it's the narrator dog. And yeah, they're like, and Jamie Foxx's character's like constantly just going, every time that narrator dog speaks, like, it's narration, like, just shut the fuck up. No one can understand your bullshit. And as soon as those two leave, it's like, it narrates, I wish people could understand me because my owner is pretty much a serial killer who has three bodies buried in his backyard. So it's a nice little parody of A Dog's Purpose right there. And Strays pretty much, yeah, it takes the live action talking animals usually reserved for this more family-friendly offering, and instead gives them an R-rated makeover. It would just been a one-note extended to feature length, but thankfully it's this really funny comedy that may lack belly laughs, but it contains plenty of chuckles throughout. And when it comes to the casting, like, I think Will Ferrell was actually good at playing naive characters, but this once again is the case here. Usually saying raunchy jokes and includes fashion as forte, especially as the character Reggie. And the two other character actors, Randall Park and Isla Fisher, they're both pretty funny in this film, and Jamie Foxx in this film was definitely perfect. His balanced energy combined with the ability to make any joke work definitely confirmed him as the best of the four dogs in this film. So it's like this, yeah, the plot movie is like a road trip movie, but with dogs instead of people. And Will Ferrell's Reggie teams up with three other dogs to find the owner, abandon him, and exact revenge. It's this neat setup and a funny perspective for a movie, and it leads to lots of great scenarios and comedic moments. It has truly brilliant one-liners and jokes that will have you laughing aloud numerous times. It really used the dog angle to its fullest extent with some brilliantly sharp and witty dialogue. It's also refreshing to see that the best gigs weren't spoiled in the trailer, which a lot of comedies have usually were starting to do as of late. The comedy even gets elevated by the brilliant voice acting. You'd expect nothing less from a comedy great like Will Ferrell, of course, but usually in this movie, though, Jamie Foxx was actually the one who stole the show with some truly inspired voice acting, too. Park and Fisher were great, too. And the four of them making this fun foursome to fall around for 90 minutes. Yeah. And if you're definitely a dog lover, there's some emotional aspects that will definitely reason with you more. Despite its comedic focus, the film actually does carry a meaningful message, a theme that prevented it from being a mere laugh fest. And it blended everything in so well. Like, you could literally see the best love is the hardest message might hit home for some here. So yeah, it's not like an over raunch fest. It's not like Sausage Party, where when the trailers for Sausage Party came out, they made it look like this funny computer animated R-rated film. That probably could have been the Deadpool of R-rated animated films and probably could have made like a huge impact. No, that turned out to be the exact opposite. Not only was it nothing but fuck in every single sentence in that film, or sex joke, or sex joke, sex joke, sex joke, sex joke, sex joke. It was also this overdone political talk about the system and 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 the system. Like, I don't know what I think of it. Yeah, like, system. Stop talking about the fucking system. And stop swearing to fucking death. And stop saying a bunch of stupid sex jokes for once. Like, yeah, being R-rated is fine, but still try to have some heart like this movie does. Heck, even the Jump Street movies do a better job handling a concept like this than Sausage Party did. Like, I don't know why Phil Lord and Chris Miller could have did Sausage Party. They would have made a better Sausage Party than Seth Rogen would have done. And just as long as they treat the animators right, because I know the animators of Sausage Party were treated like ass. But back to this movie, though. The soundtrack was definitely cool. This was definitely funny. There's a few jokes that could go unnoticed because they're not as prominent as the rest. And I love the lighter shade humans line. The cameos were pretty decent too, especially the couch. And with the couch part, usually there's one scene where the four dogs are wandering into the forest. They end up getting hungry. And Reggie comes across these mushrooms. And they eat the mushrooms. So, get it? Because mushrooms are also like a bit of a name for a drug. So, the dogs get high. And they start seeing weird things like Reggie sees his owner shaving his balls. Because that is a gag in this movie I'm going to get to later. Apparently it's mentioned, like, since Doug is an abusive owner, they just mentioned that there's one thing he loves and that's his dick. So, he shaves off his dick. That's what Reggie sees. Jamie Foxx's character Bug sees a couch that talks. And, Randall Park's character and Isla Fisher's characters usually see each other in traditional hand-drawn form or saw puppet. And then the rest of their high trip, they pretty much find these plushes buried. Then their drug thing wears off, and then it finds out they killed a bunch of rabbits. Which actually got a laugh out of me. And it's a runtime of just over an hour and a half, and the pacing was spot on. It avoids any unnecessary plot filler or rushed sequences. The film's message was relatable and skillfully written. and it wasn't merely about dogs, and that was what made it clear. Now back onto the performances. Like I mentioned, the best performance of this movie was easily Jamie Foxx. Like, Foxx easy wins for me in terms of the best performance of this movie. He was crazy at times, tough, but also has this understanding that comes out at times. His character had a lot more ground to cover, and his performance, like per usual, it blew me away with the talent he brings. And timing, the emphasis, the attitude, and the hints of emotion that match what is on screen. Wow, and another thing about Jamie Foxx, I'm actually glad he recovered from his poor health, and I'm glad he's finally back in shape and able to do films again. It's nice, and I will admit, his character Bug actually has a pretty emotional backstory, because eventually we find out you think he was just born a stray and he hates humans with a passion, but we find out something. He was not actually a stray in one scene. It's during the third act breakup scene, which is a cliche I do hate, when it's revealed that Reggie was actually just faking his revenge just so he could go back to him. Just to get the three to lead him back to the road. And we find out here, Bug was actually had a human owner, which was this kid, and they got along very well. But then one day, when that human kid accidentally walked over him, he bit her on the leg by accident, and that made the parents pretty much get rid of him. So, those parents are honestly a little fucked up. And, well, so honestly, we get to the nitpicks here of this movie, and here they are. While it's thankfully not as over the top as Sausage Party, it does get a little over the top sometimes and drags out some of its jokes a little too long. There's this character police dog in the film that's voiced by Rob Rigel, who's like 2 scenes. That character just felt pointless. Don't think he really needed to be in the film. And the first time the 4 stray characters meet, one scene in particular seems to go on way too long. There's this annoying thing, let's the pee on each other joke, where the pee joke I don't like. The pee joke was cringy and did not need to be in the film. That reminds me of another thing, guys. Like, when I went and saw this film, one guy dragged his 2 daughters to the film. And within like the first minutes, by the time it got to the 4 meeting, them drinking beer out of the garbage cans, getting drunk, he took them out, and they never returned. So finally, there's some good parenting for once, because there's times when I went and saw an R-rated film with a concept like this, the parents always end up staying and letting their kids watch the whole thing. Thankfully, that did not happen with this for once. And yeah, but back to that, there's this annoying gag and they call each other PFFs because the four often pee in the same spot, and it's really annoying when they do that. And there's still some poop jokes in here where the 4 get captured, gets sent to the pound. Randall Park's character, who has this cone on his head, literally tries to make his dick form long so they can get the key, but it's far away. And then the dogs decide to shit in their cell so that the catcher can come clean it up. Then the catcher slips on their shit and they escape. So yeah, there's still some pee and poop jokes I do not like in here. And you can say many comedies centering on a friendship group, but this case focusing on his team of dogs have all built a formula they could choose to follow or to abandon. STRAYS unfortunately lines up with this formula to include a fight and separation between the main characters toward the 3rd act, and it's bothering to spend time on after you've seen it all before. Aside from the fact that it's just another fairly average popcorn comedy that you see once and forget, there's no other issues with this film other than some poor CGI work, and jokes are extremely frequent, always deliver chuckles. A few emotional scenes they don't completely take the comedic effect away, and it's an entertaining comedy still worth seeing to some people, likely mostly like a stream seeing. And another thing I did not like about this film, I honestly definitely did not like Will Forte's character. I get this is supposed to be like a comedy, but his character, yeah, he's supposed to be unlikable, but he's just not only, he's not really a love to hate character, he's a character you just hates. As soon as you introduce this, as soon as we're introduced to him, he's honestly just, he throws a beer can at Reggie, like, constantly yells him to fuck off, and we find out how he ended up getting adopted by Doug in the first place. He wasn't adopted by Doug. His girlfriend adopted him as his gift for Doug. And then Reggie ended up revealing that Doug was actually cheating on his girlfriend after bringing out another pair of underwear that was not actually hers. And then he pretty much... And Doug was all like, you ruined my fucking life. No, I think it's the other way around, dude. You ruined your own fucking life, you idiots. And most of the time, all he really does... Because, like, even when he had a girlfriend... You were just basically doing nothing much, but obviously clearly getting high, because it's showing that he's lazy and doesn't have a job, constantly relying on his mother's checks, times, and even plenty of other gross things he does I don't want to mention here. Oh god. And the only thing he loves is his dick. But in the end, though, Reggie does return, and he does realize that Doug was a shitty owner. And when he tries to tell that he's leaving, all Doug hears is barks when he sees him again. Because he usually, in the beginning, he also tries to keep getting rid of Reggie by throwing the ball all the way far away from town, or abandoning him from town and stuff. But then that also sets up the plot of the film. But then, of course, Doug finally gets fed up with Reggie and tries to kill him with a bat. But then, of course, Bug and the two other stray dog characters return to assist Reggie. And they manage to fuck up his house and cause him some injuries. And then he's pinned down by the three, and Reggie pretty much bites off his dick. And because he dropped the bomb that was already being lit when he was about to smoke it, his house catches on fire. And he's then pretty much left covered in shit because literally I think the dog that's voiced by Randall Park shits in his face. And he's just left lying on the ground outside of his burned down home. And the four then leave to go on to live other lives. Like, Randall Park's character joins the police force again because it's revealed he was a police dog, so there's that. And of course, Isla's dog character becomes his girlfriend because it's hinted that the two are in love with one another. Bug actually, believe it or not, gets adopted by another kid. So he gets another chance at a new owner this time. So that was nice. At least I feel like Fox's character got the best ending. And Reggie really just kind of starts off his own gang of strays himself, aiding other dogs. One of them is even cameoed by Harvey Golan. And he occasionally still visits Bug at his human home because his owner actually lets him visit their house at times. So in all, it's a nice ending. At least, and so yeah, it's a nice ending. Doug gets what he deserves. And the credits even reveal that he's in a hospital, and the doctors say they cannot reattach his dick. And he says, fuck. So there goes his dick. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he can't even afford hospital charges, because since he's apparently broke as hell, he probably couldn't even afford that hospital shit. And who knows, maybe he'll probably even go to jail for not being able to pay off his hospital bills. So, or likely just spends the rest of his life homeless. Because I definitely don't see him finding a home anytime soon. Or a job. But, yeah, it's all in all, guys, like, this movie, definitely not like a worth buying for sure, but it's a decent enough time waster. It's not terrible. It's one of the better comedies in a while. So yeah, in the end, guys, Strays is a stream online for those that want to see a rated R talking animal film, because you're not going to expect too much great out of this film. There just wasn't much memorable for me to say much. But anyways, guys, that's it for my view of Strays. And we're going to rank Strays. Here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you are tired of G-rated talking animal films but are willing to see a rated R one, then I would like to stream this one online because it's not really masterpiece worthy. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Strays, I'm going to give Strays a 7 out of 10. There we go. That's my review for Strays, and yeah, there was another movie I also saw that was I saw while I was away that I'm also going to be reviewing, and it was this this was a movie that people were hating, but this is one I actually decently enjoyed. So yeah, I'll review that one likely next week. Guys, sorry I'm starting lately. I just got back from my trip, and I haven't done YouTube in weeks, so my videos aren't going to turn out the best if I've been gone for several weeks. I just got back. I'm just back on YouTube, so back from all my trips. I mean, back from my trip anyways. I only went on one trip. So yeah, sorry these videos are seeming a little slow lately. But until then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this, want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.